Recording started. Welcome everybody to the webinar. This is Julie Hoffman. I'm the Street Smart Diva. Tonight we're talking about selling houses creatively to make more money, or in some cases just to not lose money, or in some, it just depends on the situation. This is a really fun topic. It's actually one of my favorite things about real estate. It's one of my favorite strategies. I love helping people that think they're in a unsolvable situation, because I just find that there's always a way, there's always a solution, especially when people are willing to work together. And tonight is the grand finale of the webinar series for my 5 that has turned into my 7-day flash sale. So welcome folks to the grand finale. I'm going to go over this again for the people who are watching the recording, but I know everybody that's on here has been here before. Started investing in real estate in 2001, 300 deals and over $80 million in real estate later, and the recession, which kind of got my butt kicked in the recession. In fact, lost almost everything during that time. It sounds horrible, I know that, but it was actually a gift. In fact, I find my biggest advantage is having gone through the recession and come out on the other side, because what it's done is it's made me extremely street smart when it comes to real estate investment. And it's how I ended up becoming a real estate investment coach. So, favorite things about real estate: I can touch it. It's a tangible asset. I can move into it if I want to. I could drive by it, make sure that everything's going okay. Even if values drop, the mortgage, it's eventually going to be paid off. So it's going to be debt-free. That is if a mortgage is on it. Real estate gives me a tremendous amount of freedom of time. It's extremely efficient. I don't typically do deals unless they're going to give me at least $30,000. And that's 6 months of work for a lot of folks. For some folks, that's a full-time job, 50 hours, 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week. Real estate takes nowhere near that amount of time, especially if you do it right. Real estate is completely neutral. Doesn't care if I'm a man, woman, transgender, black, white. Doesn't care if I've graduated from high school or university. There are absolutely no prerequisites to invest in real estate. I recommend education. I recommend, of course, working with a brilliant coach. Hopefully there's somebody nearby you could contact to do that with, or a few of them. Hint, hint. But really all it takes is some action. Ultimately, it takes action. It takes some ability to do something maybe that's outside of your box, outside of your comfort zone. So, creative selling strategies. Some of the creative selling strategies that we're going to go over tonight include lease options. Where I live in Canada, in Western Canada, there are things called agreements for sale. And in the United States, I know about strategies such as buying properties subject to, and I know there are a lot of lease options going on down in the United States as well. And most of these are referred to as rent-to-own or rent-to-own type deals. But the trouble is, at least where I do real estate, there's really no legal paperwork called rent-to-own. And if you're doing this properly, real estate, whether it be creative or otherwise, you are using lawyers. So, I just want you to keep that in mind. You might be wanting to do a rent-to-own, but there's likely proper legal terminology, that needs to be used, again, in order for creative real estate selling strategies to work. So although rent-to-own is a popular word for properties, there's usually nothing really, there's really no legal paperwork behind it. So I just want to start with a story. This is a property in Edmonton, Alberta, and a great little house that I bought from a very frustrated flipper. The flipper was tired of paying for this vacant house for 5 months. I came in, I agreed to take over payments, and I said I would pay him $15,000 in 4 years. Again, I took over all of the expenses and I agreed to do that for 4 years. And early on, there were problems. This property was in a rough neighborhood. It was in 97th Street in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That area might be great now, but back then it was rough. So I found myself in a really kind of frustrating situation. Had a lot of turnover. but I had one basement suite tenant. His name was Terry, and Terry was a bus driver, and he was a really great guy. He never left. But I had constant turnover in the upstairs suite, had an upstairs suite and a downstairs suite. And finally, I had had enough. It was making me absolutely crazy. I had people moving in and out, tenants who were druggies, all kinds of really yucky stuff happening. But Terry looked after a lot of the property management for me. Let me know when the cops were there, when the drug dealer was there, fun stuff like that. And finally, I went to Terry and I said, hey, how about I sell you the house, like a rent to own? And he was absolutely all over it. And it was a huge win for everybody. Now, with this house, I just kind of guessed on my numbers. I knew that the mortgage, was going to be paid down a bit over the next little while, but I really wasn't sure. All I knew is I was tired of going there, and I was tired of hearing about what was going on there. I was tired of dealing with druggies and headaches and vacancies. So Terry wrote me a bunch of post-dated checks, and the only time I went back to this house was to do the final sale paperwork with him and his significant other. Anyway, I ended up making $25,000 by the time it was all said and done. And not only that, so I made $25,000, that was great, but the Edmonton market had this massive surge. It went up 24% in 2 consecutive years. So basically 50%. So by the time Terry bought it, he walked into $50,000, that's $50,000 of equity. So the factors to consider when it comes to deals like this is, are the monthly payments going to be covered? And in this case, they were. And the eventual sale price, I knew it was going to cover mostly everything. But most importantly, I wanted to know that, that the mortgage on it was covered. And in my case, everything was covered. I was no longer hemorrhaging money, and I was happy with that. And we had a sale price determined, which worked out really, really well. Again, I ended up getting $25,000 out of this deal. And so I not only had stress off my plate, but I ended up making, a lot of money, especially in the back end. This is a house I owned in another city in Alberta called Beaumont. And it was actually my house that I lived in before I moved to Kelowna. I had acquired this house from an investor who was in trouble. I'd taken over the property as an investment. And then when we went through the recession, me and my family, we actually decided to move into it because it made a lot of sense for us at the time to downsize. So we lived in this house. It was a great little house. And then it made a lot of sense for us to move to Kelowna. Moving to Kelowna just gave us a really great fresh start. Plus, it doesn't hurt that it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. So there we were about to move. But here's the thing, the market was really slow at the time. And the financing on the property was basically equal to what it was worth. So there was no equity in this house. Plus, on top of that, there was a big payout penalty on the mortgage. So I knew that what made the most sense was to sell the house as a rent-to-own or a lease option. It was a lease option. So I marketed it. I found a tenant buyer. I did a rough calculation on the debt at the end of the term and made the deal. Now, what ended up happening is the tenant buyer who moved into this house, he created $400 a month cash flow for me. He gave me $5,000 as a down payment. So he had, a vested interest in making sure everything was going to go well. And he covered all costs over the course of the 3 years. And eventually the mortgage was paid off. And by the time everything was said and done with this property, I ended up making about $30,000 on this property. So it can really turn kind of a sticky situation into a very profitable situation. These types of selling strategies usually create at least $200 of cash flow per month. I have a rent-to-own house right now. It's at least I keep calling it a rent-to-own, even though I told you at the beginning of the webinar not to. I have a property, a rent-to-own property, a lease option property. It cash flows $750 per month. And that's because people will pay extra to become homeowners. And the reason why they they do is because they've usually been turned down at the bank and they're frustrated at renting and they're frustrated at throwing their money away every month. All right, so let's just say that you're able to create an additional $200 per month in cash flow over the next 3 years, next 36 months. That's $7,200. And that's a nice amount of money. So this is an example of a couple that I worked with named Rick and Sue from the beautiful province of Saskatchewan. They had bought their house at a really high time. So they bought it high and then the market kind of dropped. And the market was soft at the time that we talked. But they needed to sell because they were moving. She was moving to the big city and he was moving to another province to help their daughter out with their grandbaby. And they knew that if they sold it with a realtor, they were going to lose about $10,000. And they did not want to be landlords. That was top priority for them. They'd rather lose $10,000 than be a landlord because they had just heard too many horror stories. So they actually hired me to coach them to find a rent-to-own client. And I helped them market it, pre-screen it, all that stuff. And they found Casey and Bob. Casey and Bob put $5,000 down on the house. Their monthly, Rick and Sue's monthly expenses were covered all during the 3-year term. And over the next 3 years, it's actually still going on now, but by the time it's all said and done, the mortgage is going to be paid down by $22,000. And that will be money that goes into Rick and Sue's pocket. So instead of losing $10,000, they're actually ahead by $22,000. And they were actually my first coaching clients. This house that you're looking at is actually how I became a real estate investment coach. So yeah, this house is the primary reason why all of us are sitting here tonight. I think this house may someday become a historical site. Do you think it's possible? Wouldn't it be awesome? Well, stranger things have happened. They definitely, stranger things have happened. We'll just keep an eye on that house, see if it happens. So you're wondering, how do you do this? Well, again, with this house, we did a lease option purchase. Rick and Sue agreed to keep the financing in place. Rick and Sue, who were the sellers, they were very motivated and they didn't need a lot of money for a down payment. And as it happened, Casey and Bob were motivated to buy and they didn't have a lot of down payment to give. And they couldn't qualify for financing at the time simply because Casey was a new mom and she needed to establish a 2-year track record for her new job. So what ended up happening is I ended up walking them through the deal. I helped them put together a lease. I helped them complete option to purchase paperwork, and it got completed. Now, I want to emphasize here, in a deal like this, like I talked about before, lawyers are absolutely key. You need to have at least 2 lawyers if you're trying to sell a house like this. You need to have your own representation, and whoever is buying this house from you needs to have their representation. And that is primarily just to make sure everybody is protected. And during these kinds of deals, I'll let you know that sometimes the seller's lawyer wants something changed or something modified, or the buyer's lawyer wants something modified or improved or adjusted. In these types of deals, that can happen a lot. You just have to just kind of go with it and adjust accordingly and make sure that it ends up being a win for everybody. So if you're not familiar with these kinds of deals, you need to talk to a local real estate investment lawyer, not your uncle because he's a lawyer, because he, not necessarily, unless he specializes in being a real estate lawyer. Now, I find the biggest factor when it comes to selling property creatively is the concept of mortgage pay down. So as long as the mortgage payments are being made, preferably by somebody else, then the mortgage is going to be paid down over time. And the really cool thing about mortgages, one of the things I love about them, is that as time passes, mortgages get paid down faster and faster and faster. So if you're in a situation where you have a mortgage that's like, say, 5 years old, and you decide to go into a strategy like this, you can really make a lot of money by waiting, selling it as a lease option, and letting the mortgage get paid down quicker and quicker and quicker. Now, some people wonder about realtors. Okay, where do realtors fit into the mix here? And I love realtors. Most of the time, they work really, really hard for their money. And I've made literally millions of dollars using realtors. But there's a time when it just does not make sense to use one. As in Rick and Sue's case, it's going to cost them $10,000 out of their pocket. And usually realtors get paid, you know, from equity that's in a house. Now, anytime I've worked with somebody who needs to sell creatively and their house is listed by a realtor, I've always talked to the realtor to make sure it was okay. And guess what? Every time I've done that, the realtor has always said, take it, get rid of it. It's making me look like a bad realtor. Because most of the time, if a house that has, you know, maybe too much debt on it, and it needs to sell for a certain price because the sellers just, you know, they don't have the money to pay the realtor, it's an overpriced property. And it's hard for a realtor to sell an overpriced property, especially in a slower real estate investment market. So that's just something to keep in mind. So just wanted to kind of give you a visual of, you know, what it looks like in the case of an over-leveraged house. So this is a house on the left where there is more debt on the house than it is worth, okay? So the blue line represents the amount of debt that's on the house. And the red bar represents the value of the house. So you can see if the house sells, there's still gonna be all this debt. Well, that's gotta come from somewhere. So just because the house has this kind of debt on it right now doesn't mean it's going to, it won't. In fact, if it has a mortgage on it, it's going to have less debt on it over time. So fast forward to 2000, let's say 3 years from now, you see how much the debt gets paid down from $200,000 to a little over $150,000. And even if the value of the property doesn't go up much, the debt is going to be paid down. And in this kind of a rent to own or lease option or agreement for sale type of situation, this is exactly why it's extremely useful to use this, because it basically buys people time to let the market recover, time to pay the mortgage down. It can help people avoid credit problems. It can literally help people from going into foreclosure or bankruptcy. It's an extremely, extremely powerful strategy. Now let's just say that you already own a house. Maybe it's a rental house and you're tired of being a landlord, or you're thinking of moving, maybe upgrading into a bigger house, and maybe holding on to the house that you have, you know, in order to create another income stream. Well, most people would just sell their house. They'd get it sold. They'd move on. They don't want to be landlords, and they don't necessarily want to explore other options. But look at the potential when you already have a house that has a little bit of equity. So same thing as the other slide. The blue line represents the amount of debt on the house, but the red line represents the value. So between today and let's say 3 years from now, so 2019, this debt's going to be paid off significantly. And look at how much more equity there is. Let's say over time, if the property goes up from just, you know, so let's say $230,000 to $250,000, all this space right here is money in your pocket. So it can really make a huge difference selling your house today that already has financing on it versus selling it 3 years from now. And I like lease option strategies and agreements for sale strategies, primarily because people that move into those houses, they treat it as their own. They're in charge of their own repairs. All they have to do is buy it from me at the end of the term. So that's a lot easier, you know, at least in my world, than it is to be a landlord. But, you know, if you're thinking of being a landlord, it's hard to ignore this amount of money that you can be made over time. It might make it worth it for you to, say, take a landlording course like the one Bill and I have going on this week and next week in the Street Smart Buyer course. Learn how to be a landlord just for the simple fact that the mortgage is going to be paid off substantially over time. Again, by somebody else, and just for, just for providing them a nice place to live. Now, I said this before, and oh shoot, I've got to press pause. Bill, step in. I'm sure you've got lots of words of wisdom for us while I scramble a little bit.
Hey, here I am. I unmuted myself.
I think I muted you earlier. Sorry about that.
You did, but that's fine. That way I didn't have to mute myself. Save me some.
Thanks. No hurry.
So yeah, the great thing about mortgages is you are paying mostly interest at the beginning of a mortgage. And as the mortgage transitions through, you're paying less and less interest, and more of it is going towards principal. So if you've got somebody who's 10 or 12 years into a mortgage and the property, they bought really high and it's basically about the same price at this point because values have come down, they could be trimming off $7, $10, maybe even $12,000 a year off of the actual mortgage amount that's due to be paid out. So that grows pretty darn quickly and allows you to get way ahead quickly. So I think you're ready, Julie, because you've got stuff popping up on the screen now.
Yes, I do. I'm ready. My slides were a little out of order, and that can sometimes happen.
I know that lady.
Hey, yeah, that's me. But that's okay. Hey, nobody's testing me. At least I hope nobody's testing me.
Okay.
Actually, I think I'm doing okay. It's all right.
All right. Are you ready to rock and roll again?
I'm ready to rock and roll, and I love, mortgages. I'm such a complete nerd. I love mortgages. I love math. I am. I'm just kind of a real estate nerd. Mortgages can be just absolutely so powerful. And if you really understand it, you got a distinct advantage in the market. Now, I said this before, and I'll say it again. People will pay extra to become homeowners. All right. So the concept of marking up a property, that means marking it up basically for profit. All right. So let's say you've got a $300,000 property and you want to sell it in the future. Let's say it's 2019, even though I don't have that written here. You want to sell it for $312,000. Well, that's just a little over 1% per year. And that would basically mean another $12,000 in your bank account. So in these creative selling strategies like lease options, again, and agreements for sale, basically rent to own, there's usually a markup. People usually mark up the property based on whatever it's valued at today. And a 1% markup from today's value, let's say again at this example of $300,000, 1% a year is very conservative. Most lease option sellers mark their properties up anywhere from 3% to 6% per year. And that's definitely how I learned to do it. Now, I caution you on that as far as marking up the property too much, because nobody has a crystal ball. I talked earlier about my tenant buyer, Terry. He was really, he had some good timing. But it was luck. It wasn't anything that he planned for. The market did go up 50% in 2 years. Bill, I'm sure you remember that. I'm sure everybody in Alberta remembers that. It was absolutely an insane time. That's not very typical, though. You don't want to plan on that. So I find that, marking up maybe 3% a year, I think that's kind of a sweet spot for me, because on average in North America, properties have appreciated in the last 100 years, an average of 6% per year. So marking it up 3% a year is fairly conservative. So a lot of people aren't aware of just, this possibility, but marking up the property does happen, and it's a way to increase the amount of money you make at the end of the day. So this is a deal that I'm literally working on right now with a really nice couple outside of Calgary. They have a nice house and they've been renting it, and it's been making them absolutely crazy because they don't like being landlords and they haven't had a lot of luck with tenants. They just want out of this house. So the problem is it's worth $310,000, but the mortgage that's on it is $345,000. So this property is basically underwater by $35,000. Now, if they're going to hire a realtor to sell this property, it's going to cost another $15,000. And there is no prepayment penalty, but a lot of times there is. And I'm not going to go into prepayment penalties right now, but it is something.
I'm just going to jump in on this really quick, Julie, with that
Yeah,
commission.
sure. Go ahead.
If you're selling a house and the financing is higher than the value, you have to prepay that commission. The rules are in place in Alberta and in other places I've found out where you have to prepay the commission, because otherwise there's no guarantee that the realtor, the brokerage, will get their commission. So the only way they'll accept the listing is if you prepay. And of course, you have to come up with 15 grand certified or some other method to even get listed, just to make it even more treacherous for you. There we go.
I'm glad you added that, because they don't do that in BC, at least not to my knowledge. No, I'm positive they don't, because I've worked with quite a few people whose properties have been underwater. That is a $50,000 hit. So I was able to walk these folks through what could potentially happen. So what I show them is that what is possible in 3 years' time is, I think you could sell this property as a rent. I told them I think they could sell this property as a rent to own for and probably get away with $325,000 in 3 years, because it's worth $310 today. It's a newer house in a nice area, good neighborhoods. Again, the property is in good shape. So I think $325,000 is pretty reasonable. Now, the balance of the mortgage in 3 years, because the mortgage is not brand new, it's about 6 years old. Balance of the mortgage is going to be paid down to $320,000. It's going to be paid down $25,000 in the next 3 years. That's another $5,000. So that's $5,000 that this person could potentially make. Plus, I estimate selling it as a lease option that it can cash flow about $300 per month. So over 3 years, $300 a month, that is $10,800. So in grand total, these people could either take a $50,000 hit or be $15,000 ahead. This kind of selling strategy has the potential of making a huge impact on these people's financial world. So let's just review that real quick. $50,000 hit versus $5,000 in equity, cash flow of $10,000, and a total of $15,800. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what a better solution is. But you know what? I'll tell you this. Sometimes people, they'll just take the hit and then walk away because they just don't want to deal with the property anymore. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So don't worry about it. There's always going to be another bus. But let me tell you, if you're willing to just, have an open mind, maybe think a little bit outside of the box and open your mind, it can make a real difference. And I'll tell you also, there's a huge demand. An absolutely huge demand for rent to own. It seems to be somewhat of a recession-proof strategy because there's always somebody looking to own a home who's been turned down by the bank. It's just a matter of finding that person or family and seeing if there is a fit. So that is Creative Home Selling Solutions. My grand finale, my last webinar. I really, really hope all of you have gotten something out of the webinars that have been recorded over the past 5 days. Really, I hope that you become one-on-one coaching clients. I really, really do. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But my primary objective really has been for you to, leave my webinars knowing a little bit, or better yet, a lot more about real estate than when you came in. So it's been a really, really a lot of fun to be able to do this for everybody. And thanks everybody for showing up. See, we have 7 people here now. This is fantastic. All right, Bill, do you have anything to add while I switch my webinars quick?
I'll play background music here for a moment. Yeah, it's great to see everybody out. As Julie said, there's just so much to learn in the real estate world, and it is so helpful if you have some kind of guide along the way. I see Marie here, and I had coffee with Marie actually earlier this week.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
We had a great chat about real estate, and I just kept on spouting more and more stuff and probably talked her ear off for the time we had together. But again, there's just so much information to know, so much information to share. And that's why some of these resources, like these webinars that you put on, have been so helpful to get some of that information out there.
Thank you, Bill. And you have been a huge contributor. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate all your help.
And boy, can I fill time.
You sure can. You're really awesome at that. And I do appreciate that a lot.
All right, back to you.
Thank you very much. Now, Friday we talked about mobile home parks. I talked a little bit about the webinars that we've had. We've talked about landlording and how to fill vacancy in challenging times. What to look for, what to look out for when it comes to condominiums, and how to access equity in property without the bank. And so there are all these recorded webinars. If you want to go have a look at them on the website, they're still there. Everything's getting shut down at midnight tonight, but that doesn't matter. You got time to go have a look at these webinars, and I'll post this one as quickly as possible. So for those of you who wandered in a little bit late, that's okay. You won't have you won't miss out on too much. Now with my one-on-one coaching flash sale, 5-day that's turned into a 7-day, you're going to get help analyzing deals that are in front of you, help with looking for potential landmines, help with potential problems. We're going to help you find joint venture partners and how to network and work with your selling process so that you can find joint venture partners, and so you can find creative sellers, and you can find creative buyers, you can find motivated sellers. And basically with sales and networking, it's just a system. And it's something that I've created over time because I've been doing this for the past 14 years. And systems enable, ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results. Going to pass that information on to you, can help you with accountability, taking actual action steps toward your goals, helping you with property management. Again, last night was our first session of the Street Smart Educated Landlord, which is part of the Street Smart Buyer series. And we went over so much information. It was a lot of fun, but a lot of gold nuggets on what to do, what to avoid when it comes to property management. Making sure all of your paperwork is complete. I've talked about about lawyers all throughout this 5-day flash sale webinar series. Lawyers are key, but ultimately you're in charge. You need to make sure that the paperwork is correct, and you want to make sure that things are covered properly and not missed. So regular pricing for one-on-one coaching, and this is for coaching clients that expect results of $25,000 in a property, and that's after the coaching fee is paid. Usually I charge $2,500 up front and $5,000 once the deal is complete, and I usually require a 2-deal commitment. So just some numbers for you, more numbers, big surprise from me. Your investment, $7,500 for a return of $25,000. That is a 33% return on your investment. Now, for the flash sale, I want to emphasize that I have been networking. I've been out there. I've been getting my butt kicked in the real estate market and rallied back. I've since rebuilt another multi-million-dollar real estate investment portfolio that cash flows great, all without any of my own money and without qualifying for financing. I've told this story a lot of times, and there are people who come to me for solutions. So when I have a property or an opportunity that's something that I would look at, my one-on-one coaching students get first crack. Right now I got 29 deals sitting on my desk. We're going to have weekly group masterminds. We're also going to have, of course, the one-on-one coaching. That's 1 hour a week. That's 3 hours a week. It's whatever is needed. If you've got a deal going on, something that's under contract, I'm working with my coaching clients every single day until the deal is done. Sometimes it's a 5-minute conversation. Sometimes it's an hour conversation. But when it comes to a deal, you've got to keep your foot on the gas, and I'm going to help you do that. You're going to have access to past courses. That's worth $900,000. Oh yeah, sure, $900,000. It's probably more worth around $900, but you're gonna have access to all past courses. We're just wrapping up our 2nd season of the Street Smart Buyer. The Street Smart Seller is going to be launching in December, and you're going to get free access to it. You're also going to get free access to Street Smart Sales. All of this is online training. Street Smart Networking, sales and networking, it's really just a system. But there's specific steps that you need to take in order to make sales and networking more natural, more fun, and more efficient. You're going to have access to all future Street Smart Buyer programs as well. So that's actually probably worth more like, I don't know, triple that, because every time we do a program, it gets better and better and better. And of course, you're going to get free attendance to live events. So if we have a live event that's in a city near you, you get to come to the event for free. Even if it's $500 for the event or $1,000 for the event. And most real estate investment events are costly in the thousands of dollars. My first real estate investment event was $5,000. You'll have access for free. You get access to Bill Bico, the educated landlord, of course, and I'm so thrilled to have him on board as part of my team. We work so well together, but Bill's got his own unique background. He has landlorded over, well, I think it's 1,500 tenants. He's done hundreds of, he's done at least 100 properties. I don't know, is it hundreds of properties, Bill, or at least 100? What is it?
I've done lots.
And lots and lots and lots, but definitely it's got to be thousands of doors because you've dealt with, it's got to be hundreds of doors anyway. Anyway, he just brings a wealth of knowledge that's really unique, different to mine. Some of you are going to be drawn to me because of my personality and the way that I am, and some of you are going to be really drawn to Bill. And I'm about to introduce another one of my team members. And so the cool thing about this is, you may not necessarily resonate with all three of us, but we can all help you because we all have a strong background in real estate investment. Now, I worked with lots and lots of coaching clients over the last couple of years since I began coaching, and clients can know everything. They can know exactly what to do, what to look for, what to look out for. They can even have an opportunity right in front of them. But they're still scared. And it's really, really frustrating when, I'm watching somebody and I know that this is a great opportunity for them, but it's just not a good time now. And what I really know is that they're very, very scared. And I'm very grateful to have somebody on my team to help with the fear factor. And he happens to be my husband, Jeff. Jeff's been on some of my webinars as a renovation specialist. He has an extensive background in buildings and building supplies, as well as renovations. And that's because he owned a home hardware building supply center and hardware store for 30 years with his dad. He was actually third generation. His grandfather came over from Poland in 1910, settled the area, and sold housewares literally out of a horse-drawn carriage. And it eventually turned into a hardware store that, again, my father-in-law took over, and my husband worked with him for 30 years. And Jeff and I have been doing this real estate thing together. I'm the street smart diva. I'm the one that's out there, and I'm always on stage and that kind of thing. But he's always been right alongside me, and actually always been a real safety net for me when it comes to real estate investment and taking risks. And I was always so incredibly grateful for his renovation background and his ability to figure out how to fix things and how to do things affordably. So he's always been a huge asset in my world. And even though he knows a lot about buildings and the right types of paints to use and the right types of flooring and how to get a great deal, all that wasn't necessarily his passion. His passion has always been helping people with topics like fear and anxiety. Even he helps people even with physical ailments. And he's worked with people all over the world through his energy work. So I call Jeff the energy guy. And with the coaching, you're going to get one-on-one sessions with Jeff. You're going to get group sessions with Jeff. And he's here to help folks with, like I said, the fear factor. But I'll let you know, he can tell you tons and tons and tons about real estate from his own perspective. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you right now my husband, Jeff Hoffman. So Jeff, are you there?
I am. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm gonna let you tell everybody where you are and what you're doing.
So this time, I don't know if some of you have been on some of the other calls. I'm usually not necessarily exotic, although I was at my family's cabin in Alberta, but now I'm just outside Sicamous, and I pulled over on a safe spot, and I'm like in this field, big cornfield, and there's mountains all around me, and my kids are in sight, but I thought I better just get out of the car and do a proper job with this call instead of Spider-Man playing in the background. So I took a minute here. So thank you all for being here. And I was trying to think of which, I have all these client stories, right? And when I tell a client story, it really just does tell what I do quickly. And this time I'm going to give one from yesterday because it's so fresh. And it may not be exactly real estate money related, but it's really all the same. And I think this story will give you an example of that. But my daughter woke up, Monica, yesterday morning and kind of came to me with tears in her eyes. And she had a very, very sore throat. And what she was crying about partly was because it hurt and partly because she's on holidays and really didn't want to have a sore throat and miss out on the fun of the day.
Hey Jeff, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. I think you got to work farther away from the traffic because every time a truck passes by, we can't.
Okay, here.
What's that?
How's that? Is it better if I take this off or no?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Great. Super. Thanks.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. So anyways, we got into the work a little bit with her, and we found out two little things that were kind of disrupting her throat energy. And the one was her sister had been just normally being a sister and was a little mean to her the day prior, and it had affected her. And another one was one of her good friends from school was moving to another school, and she's anticipating that. So I'm just giving you we cleared those things, and I'd say within a half hour her throat was feeling better, and she really never mentioned it again the rest of the day. So it even amazed me, and especially with kids, because they're really quick at letting stuff go. So that's an example of how distorted thoughts or beliefs or energy can kind of cause some havoc, right? So that was a physical ailment example, but we've all had the angst feelings and the fear feelings and the really stuck feelings and trouble moving forward feelings. And those can be really similar in that way that we're thinking and have these thoughts and beliefs that are in us that are holding us back. So I'd like to offer that I can help people with that. And when I think back to when Julie and I started 2001, I was the one that went to the first real estate seminar, but it was really her that took the action. I'm a little more analytical and a little more careful, not that she isn't, but I just approach things differently, and it could have been a long time waiting for me to take action. So the point about that is if I had someone honestly like me, I would have been able to move past some of that sooner than it took. And the other part about that is Julie and I and Bill together, what we can do energetically for you, even regardless of my work, is give you confidence. And with confidence of maybe you're about, you call some realtors or you get the word out there that you're looking for properties, and then they call you with one. Well, that's when the fear starts popping up, because you're like, oh boy, I asked for some stuff to show up. Now it is. Now what? Well, the difference with one coaching versus the online training is you're going to be able to call Julie, Bill, or myself, and you're going to be able to say, I got a property. Here's what I think, but I'm not sure. And we're going to be able to get you in alignment with analyzing it properly and building that confidence, because confidence is what allow you to do deal after deal and smart decision after smart decision. And if things ever get a little rough, the confidence is what carries you through. So I think the biggest thing about one-on-one coaching is the confidence factor, and I can't overstate that at all. When we've done really well when we were confident, and maybe had a little more struggle when we weren't. And it can almost be as simple as that, because that's just thoughts again, right? It's just thoughts again. So I hope that helps. And if anyone wants to contact me because they're on the fence with a decision about one-on-one coaching, I understand you. I can help you, and it wouldn't be from a let's get you to saying yes or to a sale. It's more just let's investigate. I like investigating these things and proving over and over again how this works. So thank you so much, and everyone have a great evening.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for being here. See you soon.
Okay, love you.
Love you. Yeah, he's just a good guy, that one. I tell you what, he's got 5 kids in the car, by the way. It's like my kids are in the car, and there's 5 of them. They're watching Spider-Man. I'm sure they're probably watching. Yeah, they're watching Spider-Man. It's like their favorite show. What a good guy. I am just the luckiest girl to have such an amazing team, surrounded by such amazing people. This is a testimonial from Deb. Jeff's an amazing healer with a caring heart that can help people transform a negative emotional condition into a state of peace. I highly recommend Jeff and his new technique of transformational healing. That's from Deb in Spokane, Washington. So flash sale pricing for you is $1,250. That's 50% savings. You can have a payment plan as well. There's a 2 equal monthly payment plan, and I'm about to tell you about a whole other payment plan that you may or may not know about. And if the balance of the coaching fee, once you find a deal, it's only $37.50, which is another 25% savings. And I'll show you, or will show you, how to get that from joint venture partners if that's the route that you decide to take. Because there's no reason why you can't get paid up front to help somebody basically make money in real estate. So you're going to save about $2,500. Again, same results are expected, $25,000 after coaching is paid. Again, $1,250 up front and $37.50 once the deal is complete. And I only need a 1 deal commitment. Okay, so usually I require 2. If you want me for the second deal, or you want us for the second deal, same pricing as this flash sale pricing. So this return on investment, $5,000 basically for coaching versus $7,500, and your return on investment is 500%. And it is only until tonight at midnight. So again, you get access to all of this, literally thousands of dollars worth of information, past course access, future course access, live events, all for free, access to Bill, access to Jeff. So you got bonuses worth $4,000 plus the $25,000 of profit in your deal. I'll help you find low money down deals. Those are my favorite. These are my favorite. No money down deals, no bank qualified deals are my favorite. They take some digging, but I know how to dig. I'm really, really good at it. So's Bill, so's Jeff. And I just want to share with you some stories, some success stories from previous clients. Rose made about $22,000 on her last deal. Tyler put $10,000 down, didn't qualify, will probably make $35,000 by the time he sells his property. Lynette put no money down and will make at least $40,000. Dale bought 2 deals traditionally, but he's going to make 70 grand. He's going to do extremely well. Samantha has a development property. It's like half an acre. She's going to put 2 buildings on it. They're both going to become revenue properties. She's going to make at least $30,000 just on her first deal. I'm sure of it. And Rick and Sue, these are the folks that I talked to you before about with the Saskatchewan property. So here are helpful links for recordings. And if you want to review the options that you have for the 5-day flash sale, This is Bill's information, how to access him, Jeff's information, Bill's website, theeducatedlandlord.com, and my website. I'm also going to type all of this into the chat. So that
And one other thing you're going to talk about, Julie, is what if somebody can't start right away, which Ruby brought up earlier.
Ruby from Saudi Arabia. Not really, but she's in Saudi Arabia. How cool is that? Ruby asked this amazing question. Great question. And that is, what if you can't start it right away? Can I reserve my spot for the discount? And the answer is absolutely yes. I have another client. It's not good timing. She's going to do some stuff with Tony Robbins, and she's dealing with some stuff for her dad. And the timing is just not good. So yes, absolutely, you can reserve your spot, and we'll work with you once you're ready to work. Well, once we're ready to work with you. The key is, do something though to get started. I'm copying and pasting all this stuff into the chat, but I think Bill is helping me out with that as well too. Of course he is.
Maybe.
Always so helpful. Now, new bonus. I got it also an extended payment plan. It's more money in up front in the long run, but it's only $250 over 6 months, and that is on the website if you want to take advantage of it. That is really, I cannot make I cannot make this any easier for folks to get started. But it ends tonight, so keep that in mind. So again, just want to go over regular price, $7,500 to get $25,000 of the deal, or $1,250 one time up front, or $650 for 2 payments, or $250 gets you started. So go to the website, click on the link, take advantage of the savings that are available to you. Let's get started. So it's not really one-on-one coaching, it's 3-on-1 coaching. You get Bill, you get me, you get Jeff. All of us very, very experienced real estate investors, all of us bringing different strengths to the table. And when it comes to supply and demand, I don't need to tell you this, but it is a real thing. And my coaching practice has tripled since this time last year, and I expect to do way more than that this time next year. I don't even know where I'm going to be at, but I do know this. Things are going to keep accelerating, and because of supply and demand, if there isn't as much supply, then guess what? The prices have to go up, because I only got 24 hours in a day, and I don't like to work that much. All right. So, and I hope that doesn't sound bad, but none of us like to work too much. I mean, I love what I do, but I also love my kids. I want to spend time with them. And you've heard how nice my husband is. So of course I want to hang out with him too. So thank you for being here. The recording will be up on the website tonight. If you want to go and you want to have a look at it, all of the links for the webinars will be there as well, but everything is coming down at midnight. So please take advantage of this special offer. And Bill, is there anything you have to add before I sign off?
Something that hasn't been said before. Basically, it's when you're starting out, when you're doing your first couple of deals, it is so comforting to have somebody to talk to help you walk through the little intangibles, the little things that pop up. Just get the little tips or the little guidance. It can save you tons and tons of headaches later. It just makes the whole process easier. And as Julie said, we've got a lot of experience on the table here. It's you'd be hard pressed to find this much experience just about anywhere, it seems like. And that's what we're bringing to the table. So if it's something that's going to work for you, great. And if it's something that's not, we'll hope you continue to follow both of us and see some of the opportunities that pop up and jump in on some of our other training and some of our other education or some of the other free webinars.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks so much, Bill. Ray says, awesome webinars. Thank you, Ray. It's good to see you here every time. It was really good to see you. And can I leave the webinars up for 1 or 2 extra days for those of you who are further away from your time difference? Ruby, I probably can do something for you. I got your email address, right, Ruby? I'll be able to find it somewhere. I'll help you out.
I definitely have it.
Thank you. And Marie, good to see you here. Thank you, Bill, for bringing Marie to the party. Always fun to have a fresh face. Susan, thanks for being here. Ruby, Ray, Marie, talk to you later. Bill, you're awesome. Thanks for all your help. And we will see everybody next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Yeah, bye-bye.